Hi, my name is Abby Hunt and I am the co-director of Verizon and trusted advisor in the aged care industry for almost 20 years now. I'm here to talk to you in a short clip here about tips for leaders in response to the mandatory COVID-19 vaccinations that have just been announced this week. I'm hearing from people there's quite a few headaches, more than we anticipated, so I'm hoping this video actually gives you a few tips that you and your leaders can use in supporting the staff. The three key issues I wanted to discuss is around the vaccine hesitancy, increased workplace conflict as a result, and increased anxiety for customers, especially in the community care. Most people don't like being told they need to do something, and for most people, when they feel forced to do something, then there's always going to be some resistance there. So research has suggested that 20% of our workforce is actually threatened to leave the industry if they're forced to be vaccinated, and we really can't afford to lose so many valuable colleagues.
Hi everyone, my name is Ash Hunt. I'm one of the performance coaches with Verizon. Second issue, increased workplace conflict. Of course, when there's different views about things like vaccination, there is an increased chance of conflict. What we're hearing is some of the carers who see the vaccine as a really good thing to protect themselves, their colleagues, and also the residents from this COVID-19 virus. They're feeling quite frustrated with their colleagues who aren't getting vaccinated and feeling like that's less safe for them. So that's creating conflict. As you know, our number one weakness in our industry is dealing with workplace conflict. So we're going to touch on this. We know that unresolved conflicts hurt relationships, and we know ultimately that impacts on our culture and it impacts on care outcomes in a negative way. We know many people would rather quit their jobs than have to deal with conflicts.
Finally, the third point that we wanted to make around the issues that are cropping up from this are the increased anxieties that customers and families are expressing. They're expressing these worries that they're being cared for by people not protected by the vaccination. And this situation again adds fuel to the conflict that can lead to more complaints and also overall distress. Now, most people are well-intentioned and therefore their approach, or the typical approach that they might take when responding to somebody who might be vaccine hesitant, would be to explain that the vaccination is actually mandatory. It was something that was decided by the federal government. It has nothing to do with the organisation. And unfortunately, the type of messaging that we often use is one that just points out why the vaccination is beneficial to the industry as a whole. And so we tend to forget to add some of the valid concerns or valid reasons or views that people might be having. So the other thing that we tend to do is actually go straight into the practicalities and the processes, such as when to get the vaccine, where to get the vaccine, impacts on time taken off, etc. So we jump straight into the processes and what needs to happen, which again can be seen as a bit of a push approach, which leads people into greater resistance.
We typically follow a very well documented change curve. You can see that there on your screen. Now, the typical approach, even though it's well-intentioned, it actually causes greater resistance. When people feel even the most subtle pressure to get vaccinated, they'll resist and they'll dig their heels in. Digging their heels in will cause bigger problems and conflicts with their colleagues, and ultimately our whole sector loses. Let's discuss tips to enable people to move quickly through the curve. Now, it's a little bit counterintuitive, but the fastest approach is actually slow. We've got to slow things down, provide people with the space to actually process this pretty significant change properly. Our best tip for you is to identify a pool of vaccination trusted advisors. These are people perhaps with a similar culture, similar language to some of the groups that have significant vaccine hesitancy. Again, these people are not there to be pro-vaccination, they're there to be neutral. They're there to listen, to draw out some of the fears and concerns. They're there to acknowledge and validate that every person's experience of this entire program is real to them. Once they're ready, their job is to provide some clear and accurate information when it's the right time. not to force things onto them. Of course, we know that we need to treat all of our people with as much care and compassion as we do our customers, especially in this case, our vaccine hesitant workforce.
Now, how do we deal with the increased workplace conflict? As I said before, I'm seeing that within workshops and within teams, there's almost this kind of opposition of views. So I really encourage you to actually hold some discussions to air the issues or air the views. So name what you're hearing. Have the trusted advisors there if it's possible. I'd like to reserve 10 minutes of the staff meeting to talk to you about any concerns people are having about the mandatory vaccine and any impacts it might be causing between staff members. If you get on the front foot and have the conversations early, it's at least an active attempt to try and nip the gossip in the bud and the conflict in the bud too. So it could sound something like, again, we acknowledge that some of our workforce are vaccine hesitant, and we actually understand that there's many reasons for why people are hesitant. As leaders, we're putting in place a mechanism to support all of our workforce through this period as best as possible. So we ask that if you have any concerns that you raise them with the leaders or your trusted advisors and avoid the gossip and the conflict that may come up in the workplace. And if there are actually some conflicts that you hear about or that you witness, then we encourage you to deal with them quickly and with all parties that are involved. Again, I can't stress enough the importance of acknowledging and validating techniques, using those techniques as much as you can.
So the last top tip relates to issues relating to customers and family. So we want to utilise our comms strategy, and we want to reassure all stakeholders, especially customers and family, that our organisation and our entire sector is actively managing the mandatory vaccination process effectively. We are on the front foot. We will keep them updated with our progress. As always, we want to encourage customers and family members. We want them to raise issues through the appropriate channels. We don't want them raising their concerns with the front line because that adds fuel to the fire.
I hope that you found that helpful as a starting point, and please feel free to reach out and ask any questions. We're here to be able to be supportive wherever we can. And if you need any additional resources or anything like that, we're happy to help. So please reach out. All the best and good luck.